Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege being here, uh, specifically after you heard the Minister of State. And I think personally for me, it's been an accomplishment. This week has been an accomplishment. And I'll tell you why it's been an accomplishment for me. I've been in KPMG now for 16 years. And one big event which we track every year is the budget event. And the reason is very simple because we provide services, what called taxation services, and tax has a direct relevance from the budgets which happen. Last week, my markets and communication team reached out to me saying, be ready this time for the budgets. And I said, I'm not from tax practice. Why are you reaching out to me? They said, no, cyber security is this year one of the themes which will be covered in the budget. And that's something which never ever has happened in the past. Just to showcase how cyber has really moved up the agenda, not only from the corporates, but the government today and the institutions where we are operating upon, very clearly showcases that this is a threat which is not just bookish, but it's a real threat. And when this happened, and when I was following upon the finance minister's speech, when he was presenting the budget, and when the point really came upon on saying how we need to establish an emergency response team, specifically the context being given to the financial services sector, I think it resonated very well. It went out very well as a message to the entire nation. You know, I saw in the previous session, I think it was Mark who presented saying 3.2 million debit card hack happened, right? That hack happens in India. It's not something, a case study which we are talking outside India. There are many much more stories which are happening in India and the case studies being presented upon. So there is a need today for us to have that robust framework which needs to be presented upon. I think there's been a lot which got talked upon initially in terms of how the framework should be looked upon, how government should be working, how various agencies which government has that needs to come together, a coordination agency needs to be set upon, which will help to build upon a robust cybersecurity framework. And there are a lot of agencies which are doing their bit around it. I really appreciate all the work and effort which Rama's organization, which is NASCOM DSC, has been putting. I think we work very, very closely with them and hold them in very high spirits of what they have been contributing to the nation in building upon a robust framework for the country. But I think the place where I wanted to add, as I was introduced, saying that what are some of the good practices which need to be looked upon, I think the point really goes back onto awareness. That's the point, and that's a theme which I heard a lot of speakers talked upon, and I bring three elements around it. It's not just awareness, it's also making sure that you have right skills, and that's the bigger challenge today, because making sure the skills are available to address cyber security effectively is a huge issue which we are facing as a country. I think most of us who's sitting over here, most of you in the audience, I'm not too sure, but I can talk about myself. Cyber security happened to me by chance. I was never, when I was doing my education, when I was getting into profession, was cyber security something which I wanted to pick up on as a profession? I don't think I dreamt about it. I wasn't skilled for it. I did not have competence for it. It just happened to me. And it's happening to many of us today out there that we're doing it just because we believe that this is an area where we need to focus upon. But how do we bring the right skills is becoming an important issue which is emerging upon. And that's where there's a whole lot of stakeholders who have to come together. I heard in the previous session, previous talk, talking upon saying how academia needs to work upon. And there's always a gap which comes in from academia to the corporate world of things, saying that what's the kind of a gap which exists in terms of what we educate people or educate students and what's really required upon in the professional world. I think that's one area where we need to focus upon if we have to move forward with the aspirations of having India being established as the global power for cybersecurity. The second area where I believe we need to really focus upon is competence. Cyber many times gets interpreted just by saying that it's a technology related risk. I put it very differently. It's a risk which has started because of technology but doesn't stop over there. But the challenge which comes when we start looking at technology is that technology is changing at a very, very fast pace. And immaterial of however we may try and we may want to resist it, it's a reality in our face. With that change happening at such a fast pace, Internet of Things, I think we heard in the previous session, and so on and so forth, which is happening around, how do you make sure those competencies are available with the skills that are required upon? So it's a moving target at any point of time, which is staring right in front of us. So if I was to put it across again, saying that awareness, making sure the skills and competence are the three key elements which need to be put when we would look upon a cybersecurity framework comprehensively for the country. Awareness as an element is again undermined many times, because what do you really mean by awareness? Is it just to say that I should be aware of a phishing email which will be coming to me? Should I be just aware about when there is a prank call which comes to me and asks for details of my personal details I should not be sharing, and so on and so forth, a ransomware and so on and so forth? I think there has to be a layered approach on awareness. Today, it's a given fact, as KPMG, we do a lot of studies. The last study which we published out, and that's specific to India, 72% of the organization, we covered upon 150 organization across industries, 72% of organizations said that in last 12 months, they had a cyber attack. Now, that doesn't mean that these organizations were not protected enough, or they were not ready to withstand the attacks. The attacks still really go ahead. And when that situation happens, when the attack really goes upon, the first thing which sets up is a panic. And you get so many calls, those calls comes at midnight saying, this is happening, what should I be doing? And that's where we're suggesting now corporates, governments, institutions, saying how you need to be aware to deal with those crisis situations. It's equivalent to a crisis. And that awareness, trust me, is not really available at this point of time. And when you get into those situations, a panic sets in, things which may be very commonsensical becomes very difficult to be adopted upon. So coming back onto the point, I was saying that awareness has to be multi-tiered, where you should be looking upon what kind of an awareness you should be having to deal with crisis, what kind of awareness you should be having with your senior stakeholders, and what kind of awareness you should be having with your teams at large. We doing our bits as was being talked upon. I think while we work very, very closely with this entire community, what we believe in giving back to the community a lot. So one of the elements which is always very important is intelligence. And as KPMG, what we have done is it's a portal called cyber.kpmg.com. Anyone can go, anyone can visit that portal. It shows the trends of the cyber attacks which are happening, and it gives a visibility based on the industry, based on the regions, and based on the expected attacks which are available, which are going to happen. So we just go around talking upon saying that that could be a good start point for enterprises, for governments, for institutions today to look upon saying that what's a trend? Because many times if you start looking at the trend, you can catch upon the threat which is coming because of the cybersecurity. So that's one of the initiatives which we are running. I think awareness is one area which I talked upon a lot. Multi-modes which are being using. I think one of the modes which we've been using is a cyber gaming. And that's where we work again very, very closely with DSCI. We ran this competition, which was a competition across the country, which is called Security Gaming Hackathon, where there were teams participating from across various parts of the country, coming up with various security games. And the real thought came upon when Pokemon Go as a game became a viral, and a kid also knows how to operate it without looking at or understanding the user manual of that game. We thought that's one of the powerful ways of how awareness can be brought upon. And some of the games which have come out, it's already there on the NASSCOM sites. You can visit out there, download those games. It's free, available to everyone to be used upon. I think they're very, very powerful. And we did identify one of the best games. I think the theme of that game was how machines take over the mankind. It's fairly futuristic, but not very far away from where we are. So that's one of the initiatives which we are running upon. And with the world of mobility moving forward, what we have done is we have come up with a mobile app called CyberCare, again available on the Google Play Store, Apple Play Store, and so on and so forth, which helps all of us to go back and assess what's the kind of an exposure today we have. I think if we start doing some of these things where we make sure that all of us are adequately aware, and with the initiatives which the minister talked upon today, with some of the agencies, specifically NASSCOM, DSCI, and some of these other agencies are taking upon, if we stitch all this together, we'll have a comprehensive cybersecurity framework in the country. The last point which I wanted to leave upon is, I think somewhere the country has to take a call saying, do we want to bring upon the framework which will be irrespective of the sectors, or which will cut across the sectors, or we should go by the industry sectors. I was very happy and pleased to hear Minister of State when he was talking of critical infrastructure sector, because that's one which causes many of us who are really committed to cybersecurity today saying that, are we doing enough? And when you see across the world, when you see Israel, when you see US, the pace at which they are moving forward, I think there's a catch-up which is required to be done. So I think that's one question which as a country we need to address, saying should we be looking upon a framework which will be specific to industry sector or which will be pervasive across the industry sector. And I think the question will be answered. I am very confident with what Minister talked upon in the morning. We'll be moving in that direction. And as some of us, all of us, we have to come together with our thought papers so that it helps country to move forward in that direction. Thank you so much. Thanks to the organizers for getting all of us together over here. And I look forward for more interactions on this. Thank you.
Thank you.